part 4 of the 8-part series. This one is all about compassion. So from all fours, we're going to start in child's pose. Sink your hips back to your heels. Let your forehead rest on the floor. And stretch your arms above head. Just for a brief moment, stretch your arms and then just let them rest on the floor. Let your elbows rest. Let your forearms rest. And you might need something to support you here if you need something under your hips, between your heels and your hips, or something under your forehead, like a blanket. But use these next few moments here just to gather your breath in and out of your nose. Deep belly breath from belly to back ribs. Taking a moment just to think of all the things that we're grateful for, all the people that we have compassion for, and try to set a goal to be compassionate towards yourself throughout this practice. And then we'll start to move here in the next few moments. As always with these videos, pause if you need a little longer. And then moving into tabletop, if you want some padding for your knees, you're going to want to put a blanket under your knees. We're just going to take a few kneeling movements, little vinyasa flow. So coming up to kneeling, reach your arms up. Inhale. Exhale. Sit your hips back to your heels and take your arms forward again into child's pose. And then on your inhale, round forward, but open up your chest right after that rounding, right into that cow stretch. And then as you exhale, cat stretch. Press the floor away, round your back. Pull your hips back to your heels, but then whoop, up you go. So it's not all the way into child's pose. So you're kneeling, stretching up. And then you set your hips back to your heels, hands out to the floor. Child's pose. And then again, inhale, come forward right into that cow stretch, arching your back. Exhale, round your spine, drop your gaze, stretch out the back of your neck, and lift back up into a kneeling upward hand pose. And again, child's pose, sit back down. Big exhale. And then on your inhale, pull through, open your chest, open your heart. Look up. On your exhale, round your spine and table. And then inhale, reach back up again. Upward hand pose on your knees. Hips back, hands down. Forehead makes contact. That's your exhale. And we'll come right into tabletop here to set up for downward facing dog. Lift your knees. Press your hips up and back. This is just a really easy posture here. Take movements that enhance this experience for you here. So bending your knees, twisting. I like to twist. You can twist to the other side. If one knee bends, you can direct it over to the opposite side of the room under your body. Just a few moments to ground here. And downward facing dog. You're going to walk your feet up to your hands into a forward fold. And again, this is easy. You can bend your knees. You can use blocks under your hands. You can take it up into a half lift, a half fold. Move back and forth, front and back. Lift your heels, drop your hips. So anything goes. Twisting, rolling around. Stretch your head and shoulders out. Maybe twist open here. And then it's a slow roll up to stand and just coming right up into Samastiti, standing pose. Then with your inhale, push down into your heels, reach up, and we're going to stretch over to the side. So you're going to use your right hand to pull your left wrist over to the right side of the room. Keep pressing down into your left heel. Keep turning your left ribs open. Look up under your left arm if that's okay for your neck. And then you keep squeezing those right side muscles as you side bend. Release those muscles to come up into standing pose. Release your arms. Shake it out. Take a moment. And then we'll get that second side in. Reach your arms up. Grab your right wrist now with your left hand. And gently pull your right arm overhead towards the left. Keep pressing down into your right heel. And then your right ribs stay open so you don't collapse down to the floor. And again, you're using your left side ribs here to really squeeze. Within reason, of course, so you can feel the action in your left side and also some space. Inhale, release, and take your hands down to your side. And again, just a moment to pause in Samastiti. And then inhale, reach back up. Urdhva Hastasana, upward hand pose. And take your hands down to the floor for a forward fold. Exhale, Uttanasana. Step back with your legs, downward facing dog. So 1 foot at a time to downward facing dog. Press your low back long, press your hips up to the ceiling. And then on your inhale, come forward into plank pose. But I'm just going to skip chaturanga and go right into upward facing dog. So it can be thighs on the floor. You can keep your thighs up. I like my thigh here because I'm going to twist over to the side. So I rolled over to my right and my left leg came behind my right. And then you can kind of look back. And roll back over to center. And then roll over to your left. Right foot just kind of comes behind your left leg. It's just a nice little stretch here. Everybody's going to feel this in different places. If it feels wonky, you can skip it. So it's just something that feels good to me. And then back over to your cobra shape or up dog. Lift back up into hands and knees. Move your hips around a little bit. And then you're going to take your arms forward into Anahatasana. So you want to keep your hips over your knees here. You're welcome to put something under your chest, a block or a blanket, or something under your forehead for rest. Maybe even close your eyes down here again and just focus on your breath. We're going to move into a twist, and you can keep your eyelids closed or you can open them up and use your drishti. So the left arm is overhead, right arm stretches through for the twist. Please use that left arm as it enhances this posture for you. So if you want your hand on your hip or your hand on the floor behind your right arm or above your head, as long as there's no cramping or any unnecessary discomfort here, we don't need that. And then take your left hand back up when it is time to come out. Stretch back into Anahatasana, the heart pose. Chin can come to the floor if it's comfortable for your neck, but don't force it. And then we'll thread the left arm through over to the right. And again, use your right hand where it helps with balance. And also, if you're feeling any crampy sensations anywhere, move that body. Move your right arm, move your left arm if you need, move your hips if you need. If you're feeling any crampiness, move your chin so you can take your chin to your chest and look back or look out. So make minor adjustments until you find the space in your body where it feels good. Again, practicing that compassion on yourself. All right, right arm back overhead, then to come out of it, get the right hand planted first and then come back up. And one more time, Anahatasana, stretch with your chest. Keep those hips over your knees. We're going to move right into Sphinx pose. So come down to your hips and your thighs. Shoulders are over your elbows. Chest through. You don't have to look up here. You can just keep your gaze pretty neutral. This is just a warm up. But do try to take your chest through your shoulders. It's not a matter of pulling your shoulders back. That'll actually pinch your low back. Instead, access the back muscles and press your chest through. Same thing here when you move up into a cobra or upward facing dog. All right, and then let's go back into downward facing dog. Any movement here that makes sense to your body, knee bends. Heck, if you want a leg lift, you might want to pause the video and take one leg up and open your hip. That's a nice way to move around. Or revisit child's pose. It doesn't always have to be downward facing dog. As you're ready, walk your feet up to your hands, fold, and then inhale all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana, upward hand pose. Samastitihi on your exhale, find your balance. And then on your next inhale, reach your arms up to the ceiling and forward fold, Uttanasana. Okay, step your left leg back and lower your left knee down. Low lunge, Anjaneyasana. Reach your arms up, inhale. We're going to set up some Gomukhasana, cow face arms here. So take your left hand over to your right elbow and draw your right elbow over behind your head. You can kind of lean over to the left a little bit. Okay, and then release that and switch sides. Take your right hand to your left elbow, pull it over towards the back of your head gently, and then you can lean over to your right a little bit. Keep pushing into your right heel and your left knee. And then release that. Inhale. Hands come down. And step back downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana as you exhale. Smooth breath before you move forward into plank pose. And again, I'm going to ride into that upward facing dog or cobra shape. It's an inhale, chest through your shoulders. And here I'm going to reverse the chaturanga. You can tuck your toes then and drop to chaturanga and then push back up. please skip that if you don't want to do the chaturanga today. Into downward facing dog then, so you can walk forward with your left leg. Lower your right knee down. Set up the low lunge here. All right, so start with your hands on your thigh just for balance, and then when you reach your arms up, it's a big inhale. We're going to take those cow face stretches again. So right hand to your left elbow, gently nudge that elbow behind your head and lean over to the right, standing. It's like we did that standing side bend. Do the same thing here. Squeeze your right side muscles. Release. And then take your left hand to the right elbow and gently pull your right elbow over behind. Use your left side core muscles to side bend gently. Keep pushing into your foot, left foot, right foot. Okay, release down as you exhale and step forward. Uttanasana. Okay, on your next inhale, you're going to come all the way up to Urdhva Hastasana, upward hand pose. Releasing your hands to your sides, Samastitihi. One round of breath here. Shake it out. Okay, tree pose, Vrikshasana. You're going to slide your right leg up the front of your left leg, or your right foot rather, up the front of your left leg. And then once your foot gets up as high as it can, you're going to turn your knee out and your right inner heel turns forward. So you really can't see my right leg here. But the right knee, it doesn't need to come out all the way. Try to keep your hips level. You can reach your arms up to the ceiling. And then an extra add-on here if you'd like. Take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, and open your chest here. So really going for that chest opening in this practice of compassion. Stretching out those chest muscles. And then take your arms back up if you had them behind. And you're going to slowly lower your right leg down, right foot down. And then just walk out your feet. Take a couple rounds of breath. Find your balance between your feet. All right, so now for the second side, slide that left foot up the front of your left thigh and then turn your inner heel forward. So you can see here my left knee isn't pulling back. It's just opening to the point where my left hip does not pop up to the ceiling or jut out behind me. Press in with your outer right hip, so squeeze the sole of your foot with the outside of your right leg. And then you can take your arms up. You can have hands at heart center. Again, if you want to add in the extra yoga mudra here, yoga mudrasana, yogic seal, take your hands behind your back and interlace your fingers. Keep your elbows bent and try to pull the palms together if you're taking this variation with the hands. Finding something just to gaze at steadily will help with balance. And then inhale, release your arms back up. And slide your left leg down, your right leg, and release your arms down. Again, back to standing. Walk it out. All right. Shake it off. Inhale, reach your arms back up. And forward fold. Exhale, Uttanasana. Okay, so this time you're going to step the right leg back first and lower your right knee down. And come into a low lunge here, Anjaneyasana. Left knee over your left heel. So we're going to revisit that yoga mudrasana here. Hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Bend your elbows away from your low back. And your thumbs are going to kind of pull up towards your sacrum, but they're not going to touch. And lift your chest. Then take your hands down to the floor and step back, downward facing dog. And again, we're going to take this into that plank pose, reverse chaturanga. So right into cobra or upward facing dog from plank. And then if you want to add in the chaturanga, tuck your toes, bend your elbows, and press up and back. Again, skip that if that's just not part of your practice today. So if we think about this compassion area of the heart and the shoulders, that's where we hold all of our attention and protect the heart. So that's why we're working on the arms. So chaturanga is okay to practice for this, but also okay to skip. Right foot forward, left knee down. And then set up your balance, and then take your hands behind your back. Interlace your fingers and open your chest. Good. Keep lifting those two front hip bones up to the ceiling so they're not sagging or dropping down to the floor. And then your heart, again, is pulling through your shoulders. Get ready to release on your exhale, hands down, and step up with your left foot, forward fold. And then on your inhale, all the way up to stand, Urdhva Hastasana. Samastitihi, standing pose. All right, so we're going to get another balancing pose in here. King Dancer, Nadarajasana. Please feel free to go to the wall or grab a chair. You can use a chair seat back for balance. But you're going to lift your right knee up and then slide your right hand down to the front of your right ankle. Right knee, you're going to pull it behind you, not out to the side, but behind you. And then you're going to start to push your foot into your hand to lift your hand up higher. Try not to forward fold here. There's a tiny bit of a flexion in your left hip, but ideally we want to be lifting straight up to the ceiling with your chest. Good. And then pull it back in and step down. Pause, just let that soak in. Maybe shake it out if you need to. On the second side, when you're ready, you're going to balance on your right leg. And your left knee is going to come up, and you're going to slide your left hand down the front of your left shin. So then pull that left knee directly behind you. Again, try not to let it wing out to the side. You can use your right arm up to the ceiling for balance, or wherever it helps out to the side. But see how so your left leg is pushing your left hand up. You're probably not going to want to look and see if you're balancing. But push your left leg up behind you. Left knee comes up as high as your hip even. Creating a little bow shape here. It's like a half bow. Right, slowly pull your left knee back in and let your foot come back to the floor, and then balance and shake that off. Whatever you need to do. Jumping jacks, whatever. Dance, hula hoop. Reach up your arms, inhale, and then exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. And just a breath or two here to shake it out. All right, and then step back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Nice place to ground. Just find your balance. All right, take your right foot forward. We're going to come into warrior one. So your left heel is down on the floor behind you. If for some reason you can't put your left heel down because you have an ankle sprain or something, you can definitely lift that heel up and practice a high lunge instead. Also feel free to use a chair here to sit on a chair and practice warrior one. Gaze up towards your thumbs, open your heart. And then take your hands behind, interlace your fingers, keep pressing into that left leg. So don't let your left leg slack here. And also we're not going to slop down inside that right thigh or dump. We're going to go over the top of your right thigh. Almost think nose to chin here, or I'm sorry, chin to shin or nose to knee. And then pull your belly up off your thigh and keep pressing back with your left foot, with your left leg. Lift your elbows, lift your thumbs up overhead. Keep pushing that right hip bone under, and then lift yourself back up. Squeeze the right sit bone under. Keep those hands interlaced while you open, just to prevent flippy arms or floppy arms. And then open your arms up, warrior two, Virabhadrasana B. Look out over your right fingertips. Take your chest up through your shoulders. Soften your face. And then inhale, reverse warrior. Slide your left hand down your left leg as your right arm reaches up behind. Exhale slowly, hands to floor. And then we're going to just kneel back into tabletop pose. A little cat-cow here. Inhale and exhale. And then back to child's pose. And then we're just going to sweep the legs off to the left so you can sit back behind your crossed, your kind of like staggered legs there, and then twist over to the right. Bharadvajasana, little twist. Use a block under your right hand if the floor feels too far away, if you feel like you're leaning too much, or you can come up to your fingertips. And then come back up to tabletop pose. Open back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Open up your chest, open up your back. Left leg steps, right heel grounds, warrior one, press back through your right foot. So right here, right away, you know we're going into that humble warrior, so you're going to keep that right leg fired up. The left sit bone is going to stay under your left shoulder. Open your chest, open your heart, maybe take your gaze up to the ceiling. then take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, open your chest, Yoga Mudrasana here. And then bow over your left leg. So tuck that left sit bone under, so it's under your hip. And then that right leg is really strong, bowing over your left thigh. Again, think chin to shin or nose to knee. Pull your belly up, pull your arms up. Strong, strong right leg. And then before you come up, you're going to take your thumbs back down to your sacrum. Open up your arms once you get your chest open in Warrior Two. So the movement comes from your core and your chest is lifted, and it's not a roly-poly shoulder thing, like windmilling your arms and stuff. Warrior Two, just gaze out over your left fingertips, soften those shoulders down a little bit. And then an easy release and stretch up into reverse. Good. Exhale, take your hands down to the floor. Again, your right knee comes down kneeling. You're going to step back into tabletop pose. One round of cat-cow, so give yourself a little inhale, open your chest. Exhale, round, and then pull your hips back towards your heels. Balasana, child's pose. Right, and then sweep your feet off to the right from child's pose as you come up to seated, so you can twist over to your left. You can use your right hand on your left thigh, use your left hand on the block, or fingertips to the floor if the flat hand feels too low. Right, and then come back over to your hands and knees position. Little tabletop circular movement if it feels good. Go right back up into downward facing dog as soon as you feel like you've worked out any kinks left over from those twists. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Right, and then we're going to come into Gomukhasana. So from a kneeling position, you're going to take your left leg behind your right leg so that when you sit down behind your knees, your right leg is over the left knee. Now, if this is tough for you, take the ankle over the knee instead of the knee over knee, so your right ankle would slide over top of your left thigh. All right, so left arm's going to come up. Use your right hand to help the left arm. Keep with that if you need your right hand on your left elbow. Otherwise, take your right arm out and up behind and hook your fingers. Your left elbow comes over behind your head. Your right elbow moves towards the spine. And then you can lift up your chest, open your heart here, push down into your sit bones, flex your ankles, press into the outer edges of your feet. All right, slowly release your arms, move them around, roll it out there. All right, so we're going to move into a seated twist from this. You're going to take your right foot over to the outside of your left thigh. Situate as you need. So both sit bones are on the floor. You can hook with your left elbow around your right knee, or you can hug. Right hand comes behind. You can again use a block here. So if you want to hug your knee, you can hook your fingers and pull your shoulders open. Again, remember this is all about opening up that upper shoulder area, the heart area, softening that. So if you feel like this is sending you into a slump and shoulders are rolling in, adjust your expression just for this class, just for this posture here. So here I'm taking a bind. Left hand is hooking the inner right foot, and then right hand is coming around to the left hip. All right, release. Twist with an inhale, face forward, and then come back over hands and knees. And then you can uncross your legs. And here you can take some of those rolling tabletops, so hips and shoulders and head. Just move around, elbows, shoulders can get into it. Do a little Lizzo, flip my hair, or however it goes. All right, up and back, downward facing dog. Just a few moments here to make sure again that those twists and forward folds aren't left over. Nice deep breath. And then when you inhale, come back to your knees. So now you're going to take Uh-uh. I did the wrong side. So you're going to take your right knee behind your left knee and then sit down behind and in between your feet. And again, if you need to pull that left leg over a little bit and cross the ankle over the thigh more, totally fine. Gomukhsan here. So now your right arm's going to come up overhead and down the back of your upper back heart area. So you can use your left hand to hold your right elbow, or you can take your left arm out, flip the palm, and slide it up your back. And then maybe your fingers can hook. Notice one side's going to be easier. All right, so you can kind of, I like to lean forward a little bit just to feel where my sit bones are, because I want to feel, I need a reference point so I can feel where I am when I'm too far forward and where I am when I'm in like a nice natural position. And then take your head back into your arm and lift your chest up. Again, this is all about opening the heart and the shoulders. Hips are just an extra little bonus if they're feeling anything. If not, just let this be foundational. All right, slowly release your arms. Move them out as you need, roll them around, and then we're going to move into that twist. So now your left foot's going to come up and your ankle's going to hook the top of the bottom part of your shin, the distal end of your shin, or your femur, the thigh bone. And then again, you can hug with your right elbow, hook your hands, or you can hook your right elbow. I like to use left hand or that right hand rather to push my hip down just to keep it in place. It's not really going anywhere, but I don't know, it does something for me. Just do what feels good for you. Left hand on the floor behind, and then again, open your chest. So if any of these variations are causing your shoulders to roll forward, revisit, rethink it. So lift your chest through your shoulder bones and press down into both sitting bones. And then you can release, inhale, untwist. And then we're going to come right over into tabletop so you can uncross your legs. And again, roll it around. Stretch out your table, cat-cow, rolling table, circles, shoulder circles. It feels good. Child's pose for just a moment here. Hips to heels, forehead to floor. Again, relax your arms. We check back in with those moments of, what was I feeling in this class? What am I still feeling, right? All right, so grab a couple blocks and set them up behind you. We're going to take a little heart opener, bound angle. A blanket is nice to have here too. If you don't have a blanket, maybe just a couple of pillows to put under your thighs. So I'm going to take this blanket and open up into the biggest, it's just a two-fold. It's a double fold here. And then roll up the long edge of the blanket. And then come to seated in from those blocks. Way too close to those blocks. I'm going to have a rude awakening. Oh, nope. Nope. All right, so here's what I want you, or what you're going to want if you can do this. The block is going to go in the shoulder blades, the first block, and then the second block under your head. And then you're going to get that blanket. This wasn't the best idea I've ever had. Getting into it, super fun. So once you get that blanket over the top of your feet, you can grab the ends and pull it up under your hips, and it acts as a lever to pull your feet in closer, and then also as some support for your outer thighs. This is a restorative posture, so we're going to be here for a few moments. I just want you to focus on your breath here, but take as long as you need to get set up comfortably. If those blocks are ruining this for you, or if you just don't have blocks, don't worry about it. Lie on the floor. If you need to lift your hands up to an extra set of blocks or extra set of pillows, then do that. If you want an eye pillow, if you've got something to put over your eyes at home, do that. But just, getting into it, no rush. Take your time. And then once you're there, we're just focusing on breath. If you've got those blocks under the back of your heart, just really be aware of when you breathe, pushing into that block with your back ribs. Notice what you can soften as you breathe here. It doesn't all have to happen at once. Relaxation is just as hard as working up to a challenging strength, like a posture that requires a lot of strength. Conditioning and working up to that. Relaxation is the same thing. So notice as you're here, if your hips relax, if you're gripping your shoulders, if they eventually can relax. Your face, your cheeks hollow out, your temples are soft. And if your eyelids are closed, you still have eyeballs. There's still a drishti, there's still a gaze. So notice with your eyelids closed or open, either way, where's your gaze coming from? So in other words, where is it originating? Is it starting at the front of your head, the front of your temples, or the back of your head, the back of your temples? And just try to soften that internal gaze and let it drop back a little deeper so you can look out from a deeper place. And this is also something that you can practice in your daily life, in your daily world, to practice compassion. How are you seeing things from your front brain, which is the reactive brain and the thinking brain, or from the deeper back brain, the contemplative part of your brain? Again, bring your attention to your breath and notice the space that you're creating in your body with your breath, the rise and the fall of your belly and your chest. Really being aware of that block or the floor underneath the back of your heart. Notice any physical sensations that are coming up here. Being okay with those, practicing compassion with yourself and your body, not judging it when you feel something that you don't want to feel, whether it's internal or external, physical or emotional. Noticing if any of those physical sensations do have emotional ties or reactions. While you're here, if anything doesn't feel good, you're welcome to move at any point in time. But if you can, for just a few more moments, feel this shape in your body being open and receptive, welcoming and compassionate. All right, so you're going to start to wiggle your toes and your fingers. You can take your feet to the floor and lift your knees. Give yourself just a slow lift up off a prop with your elbows to lift up off those blocks and set them to the side. And then give yourself a few moments flat on the floor with your knees resting up to the ceiling, either together or just comfortable there. And then you can take your arms above head. A few breaths here. Let's move this right into a twist. Take your knees over to the right. You can use your right hand to hug your right knee up a little closer if that feels good. And then let your feet come back over to the floor. And so that your knees then can come over to the left for the second side twist. And again, you can use your left hand to help your right knee. Just gentle assistance, not forceful. All right, and then come back up and give yourself a hug, knees to chest. All right, and then we're going to move this into a forward fold, turtle kurmasan. This one can be touchy, so just make sure you're comfortable with it. You might need to move around a few times. It's an active forward fold with some sense of relaxation, so I don't want you to think of it as too much of a restorative posture. So it is active. So if you want that blanket over the tops of your feet or a block, 2 blocks, but your feet are farther away from your hips than they normally would be in bound angle, soles of your feet together, so you're creating a large diamond. This is actually my preferred way to practice this. My hands under my legs and then wrap around to the tops of my feet and a block under my forehead. You might have to scoot your hips back. You might have to scoot your hips forward. You might throw the block out of the way. You might play with blanket. I'm getting a little frustrated here because I couldn't find the sweet spot. Guess who wasn't practicing compassion on their body? So find the place that your body is okay in and your mind can get over it, right? Just for a few breaths here. All right, and then we'll come out of that slowly. Take the blocks out, blankets out of the way. Oh God, I'm actually going to try it again here. Yeah, I was relentless in this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I give up here in about a minute. So you can stay here as long as you like. You can come out of it too. I think at this point I should have just given up on this posture. There you go. Why do you think yoga teachers do so much yoga? They need it more than anybody. All right, so we're gonna set up here for relaxation pose. You're gonna go to the wall. So if you have wall space at home, and if not, that's fine. You could use a chair under the backs of your legs for legs up at the wall. But what I'm doing with this blanket is creating a bolster. So I'm opening it up and folding it into fourths. And I'm gonna take that over to the wall. So that blanket is helpful to, it's good enough to have under your hips. You could also take your blocks with you. And then you're going to sit against the wall and roll your legs up the wall. Luckily, I have ropes to help. Again, use a chair, so you could put a chair seat under your calves. And then stick those legs up the wall. Good. You can move your feet around. You can open your arms out to the side. If you need something to support your head, an extra blanket is handy. Just take your time here to get set up. And a few moments of breathing, opening your arms. Maybe you want to take arms above head. Maybe you want one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. We're going to move there in just a moment. So you can eventually put your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your belly. And just feel the weight of your legs ease back down into the heads of the femurs, down into the hips. Your hips are soft on their support. You can feel some work in your legs. You're definitely holding your legs up, but let the wall help you a little bit. So this is a good lesson in asking for help and receiving compassion. Sometimes that's hard too, not just being compassionate, but receiving compassion. Just feel your breath here under your hands, under your hand on your belly and under the hand on your heart. Feel the connection between those 2 points, your heart and your belly. Knowing that your belly is where your gut lies, and you feel, for some of us, this gut instinct, gut reaction, stress. I experience it here. And also, this is where your core is, your beliefs, your values, your morals, your convictions. And then you've got your heart, your left hand's on your heart. So here's where you feel emotions. Sometimes they're not rational. According to who, though? They're your emotions and they're real and they're valid. So this is where you feel love, resentment. And this is also where you're allowed to feel more. You're allowed to feel anything. You're allowed here to feel all the things, right? So here with your hand on your belly and your hand on your heart, just take a moment to either think these words or you can say them out loud, but with caring and warmth. Where we are right now, this is a moment of suffering. And suffering is a part of life. But can we be kind to ourselves in this moment? Can we give ourselves the compassion that we all need? All right, yogis, thanks so much for being here and practicing with me. And be compassionate to yourselves.